Hello and welcome to the Glesga podcast. Coming up this week.
The best thing I ever seen at the Edinburgh Fringe was a guy getting his balls booted by another guy and everybody thinking it was street theatre. I mean, your venue's got a toilet. That's like some of the venues I've played in, it was the toilet. And I remember in 2005 when I did that show at the Laugh Factory where the Mafia stole my money. Hey, you know that story?
No. But before then, we're talking about everything the Edinburgh Fringe.
The Edinburgh Fringe, where basically you get every deluded fanny for London and borderline, if we're led to believe, borderline sex offender. They come up for London and decamp in Edinburgh and the locals get priced out their houses. The Edinburgh Festival Fringe. It is like feeding time on the Serengeti. You should go. It's brilliant. But don't go to a show. Just stand and watch all these ball bags up and down the Royal Mile. Arseholes.
Aye. And if you want to see a couple of ball bags, you can come and see Glesga live at the Edinburgh Fringe.
I know. He's roped me into doing a show at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. I'm going to be there every day. Every day. Actually, I don't fit in at the Edinburgh Fringe because I tell it like it is. Whereas all these other they just talk pish and get paid for it. There's an irony.
You don't get a room like this at the Edinburgh Fringe, do you? This is
no,
a new paint job.
You don't. You see, there's 3 people in this room at the Edinburgh Fringe. you don't play to anybody. I mean, it's all these stories. I mean, this is the last couple of years you've got these people. There was that girl last year who went on the social media. Did she get one person in a show or nobody in a show? I don't know. And then she's greeting her eyes out. I mean, come on. Behave yourself. Oh, come and see my show. Nobody's going to see my show because it's on social media. And it turns out she tried the same thing a year before, I believe.
Aye, and another
that's what I heard.
Another comic beat her to it.
That was young Robin Granger, who had one person in his show. He went on social media and he done well out of it. But I remember my very good friend Kevin Gilded, Irish comedian. He had a show called The Man with Two Heads. I always remember it. And it was one particular evening, he only got one person in.
One head. One
person. I know he had 2 heads. It was more of him than the people in the audience. And he only had one guy in. I mean, that's weird. But he did the show. You know, and did the usual, how you doing, where you from, eliciting information out of the guy to get a laugh for the rest of the audience. There was no rest of the audience. I mean, that must have been weird. I did a show in 1995 and only 2 people turned up, right? A Spanish guy and a Portuguese guy. Now, the Spanish guy didn't speak English, but the Portuguese guy spoke English and Spanish. So I says, here's what we're going to do. I'll tell you the joke and you tell him the joke, and that's how we're going to do this. He went, no problem. And so I'll say, 2 guys walk into a pub and he says, dos amigos. He went into a bodega. And that was how we worked it. But when I told him my line, he would do this. So I would go, 2 guys walk into a pub and blah, blah, blah. And he would go. And then he would tell his mate, and his mate would laugh at him telling a joke, and he wouldn't laugh at me. But you know what? I enjoyed it. His mate enjoyed it. So you'd 67% of the audience was on my side. So I won.
There you go. What's your limit to how many folk in the audience?
Well, I remember the time I did the show and only 12 people turned up, plus the reviewer for the Scotsman. And no, it was only 11 people, plus the reviewer for the Scotsman, and the guy who had Tourette's. But we'll talk about that later on.
That's bad, isn't it? Because my most mental story at the Fringe was actually to perform at the Fringe. So I done a showcase called the AAA Showcase. And it's quite a big showcase at the Pleasance Courtyard. And I had to fly to London to audition for a showcase that was being performed in Edinburgh.
But that's what happens all the time. That's what, if you're an actor, you have to fly to London or go down on the train to London to meet these casting directors when, I've done it. If you want a part in an advert or something mental, you go all the way to London. An enormous personal expense. I mean, if you drive, it's mental. That's 2 tanks of diesel. And God knows how many hours of driving. If you go on the train, it's what, £150? Or you can go down and up in one day. If you have to stay overnight, it's another £150 for a hotel, and then your meals. So it could be £300-400 just to go and get a job. You know what I mean? Because they don't come up here, or the London mob, or the balsamic vinegar mob. They don't go north of Watford for anybody, man. They go, oh God, to them, I don't know, St Albans is the north, you know what I mean?
But they normally just take over Edinburgh, don't they?
They take over Edinburgh. I mean, these fannies, and you go up to that loft bar at the Gilded Balloon, and you just see everybody standing there trying to network with important people. I can't stand it. I don't go in there anyway, because as you know what I do, I basically get pissed and tell everybody to go fuck themselves.
Hence why we've not got a TV deal.
Yeah, hence the reason we're sitting here in a loft in the centre of Glasgow recording this pish.
But do you think the festival, I mean, there's 3,200 shows this year?
Is that all? I thought
What do you mean, is that all?
I thought it was more than that.
No.
3,200 shows. But how many comedy shows? Because you've got children's shows, and you get some fart doing Shakespeare with a fucking Ukrainian accent and all that, and fucking bollocks.
I would take an estimate there's probably about 700 comedy shows at least.
Right, now how many good comedy shows is there?
Oh, well, depends.
Well,
Thing
there's
is,
our show,
Is our show.
and there's our individual shows.
That's right, so you get 3 belters already.
And you get 3 bangers. 3 bangers for the price of 3. You're not getting in for nothing. 3 bangers for the price of 3. And and then, well, we're doing 2 shows. We're doing Mitchell and Mearns in Glasgow. Come and see us at the Fringe. But if you're a real person, if you're a posh person, you're probably not watching this anyway. Well, you probably are watching it and phoning the hate police or something. I say, this man's biased against balsamic vinegar. Up your hole. Right, anyway.
If you do want to support us, remember, buy a ticket to come and see us in Edinburgh. So we're there every day.
I mean, if you really want to support us, buy a ticket and don't come. And then we'll sell it to somebody else.
Don't say that, we end up with 2 folk in the audience.
No. I don't know if he turns out. Well, right. No, buy a ticket. If they buy a ticket, it doesn't matter.
Aye, but if they buy a ticket and don't turn up, it'll just be me and you doing it to empty chairs.
Oh, well, I've already had the money. I mean, what's the point in this? I mean, you might have some artistic integrity, right? You might think you're I'm a comedian who's going to change the world. I just want the wedge. You know what I just want the money. I mean, I've been wearing the same old shit. At least he changes his shirt. I'm in it for the bread, baby. The bread. Aye. You've been exploiting me long enough. It's time for the wonga, the moolah.
And we've got, I think we've got it sussed with Edinburgh, because well, a lot of you won't know about this, but you have to either decide if you're going to stay in Edinburgh, which is a nightmare.
But do you know what?
Aye.
It's a beautiful city. Edinburgh is a beautiful city. And if I had money, if this ever took off, if I had money, I would stay there. Because nobody speaks to you. You get left to your own devices.
I couldn't stay in Edinburgh.
You couldn't stay in Edinburgh?
No.
I could easily stay in. I love Edinburgh. It's a beautiful city. I mean, I like Glesga. I mean, Glasgow's what formed me. It's what made me. And I'll always be that Glesga guy. But just as Billy Conley lives in the Conch Republic in Florida, I would personally live in Edinburgh. If I really made the money, I'd probably move up to Inverness. Say, watch out, you wee chookters, I'm coming.
Well, the venue I'm doing my show at, Billy Conley started. That was where his first gig was.
And you think there's some significance in that?
I
You
wish.
think because Billy blazed a trail before you that you're somehow going to be blocked for obscurity? You compared to Billy Conley is like a Shetland pony comparing itself to fucking red rum. Behave yourself.
So, Edinburgh then, we've sussed the parking, so we've booked a space for a month as well. That's always the best thing to do.
We booked a parking space.
Yeah. And it was working well until the motor got tan.
Until your missus crashed the motor. So we got to go in my motor.
We've got to go in my motor, your motor.
Right, and your face will be tripping you because I've got a big manky diesel motor, not a wee electric pishy motor. Right, a big diesel motor.
Aye. Technically, for the podcast, she never crashed the motor. A lorry went into her because I don't want my buzz booted. So,
a lorry went into you? Yeah, you need to watch lorries going into your wife. Or lorry drivers. Or any driver, for that matter.
So what do you think? What do you think about all this about Airbnbs and people getting? Because people are quite happy to take $4,000 and go away. Edinburgh folk love it, whereas they pretend it's a bad thing.
Well, fair fox to them. I mean, I don't have a. I mean, it doesn't bother me, right? What people do with their hooses. But I think the difficulty is, Edinburgh's no the problem, and Airbnbs isn't the problem. The problem is the government. For 50 years haven't they built enough houses? That's the fucking problem. See, if they'd built the houses they should have built, then we wouldn't have this problem now, where people trying to buy a house like you'd pay a fortune for your house. You know what I mean? Because nobody built any houses. They never built. Thatcher sold them all off in the 80s. And never built any more. And now there's a housing shortage. And then what happens is supply and demand, innit? And if supply is restricted, then there's a lot of demand, then the price goes up. Simple as that.
So it's Margaret Thatcher's fault comedians can't stay in Edinburgh during the Fringe.
It is absolutely Margaret Thatcher's fault, because Margaret Thatcher hated comedians because they were always ripping the arse out of her. And she went, I'll fuck yous up. I'll fuck yous up. You won't be able to stay in Edinburgh. I'm not building any houses for you arseholes. That's what she done.
That's going to be difficult because, obviously, interestingly, during Edinburgh Breaking the News is recording, and it's a new government, and you're thinking, God, how are you going to take the piss out of these folk? Because they're actually doing all right so far.
They've only been in, a couple of weeks, a few weeks. They'll fuck up eventually. It happens. It's politics. You know, they stay in power too long. I mean, the country's up to its eyeballs in debt, and they're going to have to borrow. They were saying in the news that they've seen a $2 billion hole in the public finances or something. They're setting us up to borrow, but they're going to have to borrow. As long as they borrow and spend it on good stuff.
Well, one of the things
like free fags and vodka for pensioners.
Well, one of the things they're maybe going to have to borrow money during Edinburgh, it might be this rubbish scandal again where there's bin bags lying everywhere.
Bin bags lying everywhere. Because
they're going to strike.
And the seagulls break them open.
Aye, and all the rats.
And the rats, aye. The rats. Are you talking about the London people doing Fringe shows? No.
Do you remember that 2 years ago?
Aye, it was stinking. I remember it. The bins weren't getting emptied. And Edinburgh was stinking, man. Which was good because after my show I'm covered in sweat, so nobody could smell me. I smell better. I smell better for a change in Edinburgh.
Well, they're like, oh, it's stinking, let's go in and see a show.
It's reeking. Well, I'm in the venue, the Beehive Inn, doing my show, which is that wee hot room at the top of the Beehive, which is a fantastic room. But there's no air conditioning. And you get some fucker down in the grass market turning up to play, and you have to, oh, pal, fuck off, here's £20, fucking move down the street. Nobody can hear my show. And he's like, he fucks off with his bagpipes. Thank God that they're not allowed amplification, the buskers. But you get these fucking bagpipers, they do my brain in, man. And you see him there. He's probably done a wedding that day and cleaned up anyway. Fucking bagpipers, right? And then he stands outside the Beehive. Fucking do. Can't hear a fucking thing.
Mine's is a female toilets outside my room.
Female toilets?
You hear the door slamming all the time when they go for a shite. It's like all through the show, like the door's gone. And,
is that right?
Aye. Oh, the red arrows flying there.
What you should do is you stop them using it, just go to everybody shh and listen. And the person in the bog is going, oh no. And they'll be trying not to make a noise when, when they do the plop.
So, talking about breaks, we're going to take a dump at the moment and have a short break, and then we'll be back with a clip from one of our live shows.
See, he's getting a staying power this year. You know what I mean? He hits a brick wall and he just keys up. He's getting it. I saw this young team. They gee up too quickly now. They've got no staying
anxiety
power.
and all
Do you know? Oh, well, that is big now. Remember back in the day? I've got a bit of anxiety. I'll give you fucking anxiety. I'll give you anxiety, I'll fucking wanker you. You know what I mean? Damn, I'm not feeling it. Wake up to yourself, you fucking idiot.
Wake up to yourself. That was the doctor's prescription, wasn't it? Wake up to yourself.
Wake up, fucking sort yourself out. Right. It's January, you're Scottish. Just wait a week. Right.
Wait a week.
I know, it'll be February and everything's going to be fine. You've just been pissed too often. But that's it, see, you never had the benefit of that lifestyle. You know, I mean, it's okay, your arteries are all clean and all that, right? You're not going to have a heart attack, but it's not, it's up here, son, and in you, and in here. You got to stay in it. The youngins. See, they need the excuses to fail.
Oh, God bless the youngins. I got a couple of youngins myself, man. You know
have you? Yeah. So you're a father?
I'm a father, yeah.
You need to watch what you say to them now.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
Because there's social workers.
I thought you were going to say because counselling's expensive.
Counselling? I mean, £125 an hour to sit greeting in front of somebody. Fuck that. £25 for a carry out and I'll greet for a week, right?
And remember, as we've said, you can see us as Glesga at the Edinburgh Fringe. You can also see Mitchell and Mearns. And you can see Raymond Mearns at the Beehive in the Grassmarket. And you can see us there. And anyone that was looking for tickets for me, remember, I'm doing Mitchell and Mearns, so book your tickets.
I mean, your venue has got a toilet. That's like some of the venues I've played in, it was the toilet. You know what I mean? I remember I used to play in this venue and it had the men's toilets, right? The gents' toilets. I don't know what the women's toilets were like, right? I'm not a deviant, right? The men's toilets had 2 cubicles for, you know, having a shit. Now, one had no seat, but had a lock on the door. And the other one had a seat, but no lock on the door. So you can have a shite in comfort or a shite in privacy, but you can't have both. You can't have a comfortable private shite. You can either have an uncomfortable private shite or a comfortable public shite. And I kept going on about it, and he would never fix it. The guy who ran the boozer, he would never fix it. He seemed to, what's your problem? What's your problem, mate? You're vulnerable when you're having a cack, ain't you?
Aye.
Especially in a public toilet. And I like these toilets, public toilets, where there's nothing. You can't see under the door, through the door, or the top of the door. You know, it's a self-contained cubicle. But, I mean, have you seen some of the toilets in America? I mean, the door's up there. I mean,
there's a gap.
There's the gap in the door. Anybody who's 5'9" can look in and go, "Hi, how you doing?" I mean, fuck's sake, mate.
It is weird though, eh? Aye. But the thing about it's always a thing with air conditioning in Edinburgh. Hardly any of the venues have got air conditioning.
Well, you don't need air conditioning in Scotland. You need it for about 3 days a year. What's the point of air conditioning in Scotland?
Because you've got 50 people in a enclosed room for an hour and
And
it's
what?
roasting. It's boiling. It's bad enough.
Your boss. 3 days out of the month. Come on. It's a fact. That's what I've noticed. I mean, you don't get... It's no boiling all the time. You occasionally get a hot, sticky night. If you're lucky.
So when did you start the Fringe? What was your first Fringe date?
My first Fringe?
First Fringe year.
Well, I go Ian Cognito's room when he got punched by Ricky Grover in the year 1995, and I was speaking to Cogger's manager, and he's because I'd heard Cogs went home. Because he got banjoed, they were in the old Gilded Balloon, the old Wilkie House, and then Ricky Grover, who was a professional boxer, became a comedian, scalped Ian Cognito, God rest his sweet soul, and then Cogs went home, So there was a room. So I went and I said to his manager, can I have his room? And he went, aye, it was there. And it was in that C venue on Chambers Street.
Oh, aye.
But nobody turned up. And by the way, I got an ad in the Sun newspaper. Because I worked at the Sun newspaper at the time.
Oh, you did?
And they ran an ad for me, but nobody came. That was the time the Spanish guy and the Portuguese guy came in.
Right. What, they reading the Sun newspaper, were they?
They must have seen it in the Sun. I suspect they'd actually just come in because everybody else was sold out.
Maybe they came to Scotland, said the weather's terrible, and says, there's the sun.
No, I
And
think they
picked
came.
it up.
I think they came to cool down. They probably came from Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula. They came from there and came to Scotland and went, what a lovely place to buy a cagoule.
What's the best thing you've ever seen at the Edinburgh Fringe?
The best thing I ever seen at the Edinburgh Fringe was a guy getting his balls booted by another guy and everybody thinking it was street theatre.
The 5 stars.
So these two were battering the shit out of each other on the Royal Mile and they made 44 quid.
The best thing I've ever seen at the Fringe was the train spotting live.
Well, I don't go and see anything else. I mean, you wouldn't get me in anybody else's show. You know
I
that.
wouldn't go and see other comics.
Well, I would if I could be arsed. But you're so busy doing your own thing that, you know, I've seen everybody over the years, but I wouldn't go out my way to see something. I'm trying to think. Actually, the best thing I ever saw, I saw a play. What am I doing going to see a play, right? I mean, you can't eat nachos and that if you're in the audience. But I went and saw a play, and it was set in Arthur Scargill's living room on the day of Margaret Thatcher's funeral. So I thought it was quite good. I can't remember what it was about, but it was good.
People were getting abused when she died, weren't they?
Were they?
Aye, because folk were celebrating, Scottish folk and all that.
I think there was a lot of resentment about Thatcher, about what she'd done to Scotland and the regions. I could understand that. I mean, I fucking hated her. I never knew her. But she never done me any harm. I mean, I can see the point. It was me and my ilk that Tebbit was talking about when he says, you should go on your fucking bike. But I had a punctured tyre, so I wasn't going anywhere.
No, in Edinburgh in the cobbles. Do you not think as well, like, it's always a nightmare to get something to eat? The restaurants are just, Edinburgh's just
No.
too busy during August.
Do you think so?
If I wasn't performing there, I would. No, that's a lie. I think it's criminal that folk that live in Scotland don't go to the Edinburgh Fringe just at least for a night.
Did they?
No, but loads of folk you meet say, "Oh, I've never been," and you're like, you only live like a 20 train minute journey.
Well, okay, from experience, as you know, I do my own flyering in the grass market. So take a wee walk down the grass market and you'll see me in civvies. This is what I look like. And I'll be flying and I meet the people. I like to meet the people and tell them about my show and stuff. But first of all, I ask them about them. How you doing? What you doing? Are you into any, perverted sexual practices and things like that? You like to find out about people. And I would say the vast majority of people that I interact with are either vast majority are Scottish and a lot from England and Northern England. I find Americans, and this surprises me, I find Americans are incredibly standoffish, which really surprised me, because I thought they were kind of polite, friendly people, because every time I go to America, they're polite and friendly. And I remember in 2005 when I did that show at the Laugh Factory where the Mafia stole my money. Right, you know that story?
No.
Well, I did a gig with a New York-based comedian called Danny Lobel. He's a good friend of mine. We did a show called Laughs Across the Ocean. And we filled it just by standing on, I think the Laugh Factory was on 8th Avenue near 42nd Street. And we were standing on the street. It's called barking on the street in America. You're going, come and see the show. Loads of people, come and see the show. I'm Raymond Mearns. I'm from Scotland. I'm doing a show called Laughs Across the Ocean. And, I mean, Eddie Brill, the booker for Letterman, he came in. And clearly thought I was shite because I never appeared on Letterman. So, and we did the show, and we got 150 people in at $15 a ticket. And so, I flew back home thinking, you're a dancer. I'm on 70% of the, I don't know, $2,250 we'd made, a half of that, because Danny and I halved it. And what he told me, I says, Danny, where's my money? You got my money? He's my money, motherfucker, right? He went, Raymond, man, we're not getting any money, man. You know the Gambinos, John Gotti and all that, the Mafia, right? The Gambinos own the Laugh Factory. And they're no pioneers, told us to fuck off. So the Mafia ripped me off. The Mafia they ripped me off, by the way.
If there's any of the Mafia listening in, you owe money.
No, they'll shoot me as a rat. They'll say, what you going to do about it, you rat bastard? What, you want your money? Fuck you. Here's your money, you motherfucker. So, you're going to get clipped. We're going to whack this asshole. We're going to whack him. The Letterman show. You weren't even... Anyway, it's a message. Glesga Dash sleeps with the fishes.
That'll be funny after the Glesga live show in Edinburgh and I phone you up and say, sorry, Da, Mafia have stole our money.
The Mafia? The Mafia?
The Edinburgh, the Leaf Mad.
There isn't a Mafia in Scotland. It was you that stole the money. See, I always wonder, and I met Danny a couple of weeks ago because he was over for some reason. And he says, hey, Raymond, let's meet up. And, we met up. And I reminded, I wonder if he ripped me off and blamed the Mafia. So, Godfather, if you're listening, send me an email or send me a message. Make me an offer I can't refuse. So Mafia ripped me off.
And talking about getting ripped off, if you're wanting to come to a show in Edinburgh, remember we're only a tenner. I mean, what's a tenner? And if you can't make it to Edinburgh, also remember we do a live show basically the last Sunday of the month at Blackfriars. And the next one is the 1st of September.
Which
Sunday
is the first
1st.
Sunday of the month, because we can't get the last Sunday of the month in August.
Right,
so,
aye,
1st of September.
Aye, basically it's
And we'll
normally...
have a special guest.
Aye, we've got a special guest. We've always got a special guest, and we don't reveal the special guest until the actual show. And we had a great time, didn't we, with Frank McAvenny?
Oh, he's a Scottish football and now comedy legend. Comedy legend, Frank, a wonderful man. Now the thing is, if you're coming to the Fringe, behave yourself, because I was talking about before when there was one night years ago, it was 1997, and I was having a good run, right? 97, I was having a right good run. I was in a 50-seat venue, and it was selling out every night. And the venue, the guy went bankrupt, so he started paying me cash on the night. So what happened was I'm doing my show every night in this wee venue, and on the Friday night I heard that the Scotsman, the newspaper, was coming, right? Now, if if you get a good review in the Scotsman, you're sorted, man. You are sorted. You're going to end up with more money than the Mafia, right? Beautiful women are going to suck your toes. You're going to make it big, right? So the Scotsman turned up. Now, this particular night, it was a Friday night, and I was really surprised because only 11 people turned up, plus the guy for the Scotsman, plus one other guy. So that was 13 people in total. I don't know if that was a bad omen. right? But the subsequent review from that night started, if Raymond Mearns was the last comedian on earth, then comedy would be extinct. And then he started to knock fuck at me. So that was him just softening me up for a kill, because what happened, I came out on stage, there's 11 people, the guy for the Scotsman, and there's a guy standing at the bar there. So they come in the door at the back, there's the bar, here's the stage, I've got a wee room there, I come out. And I said to the guy, excuse me sir, would you like to sit down? And he went, yeah, pineapple chunks. And I went, oh fuck, he's got Tourette's or something. Right, he's going, Machine Gun Kelly. I went, oh fuck, right, oh fuck's sake, right. I've got the Scotsman in, and this guy turns up. What did that fucking interfere with pandas in a previous life, right? I mean, why me, Lord, right? So, now the thing is, you know, I'm famous in the business for having one of the most famous heckles. Omid Jalili was on Loose Women, and they said, Omid, because Zippy's one of them. Oh, what's the best heckle you've ever heard? Right? And he went, the best heckle I've ever heard was, and he told him the heckle, and it happened to Frankie Boyle. That's what he said. But it didn't happen to Frankie. It happened to me, and it was on this particular evening with the guy with Tourette's. So, the guy's got Tourette's. God love him, right? I'm an empath, right? I'm not going to slag the guy off. I'm not going to put the guy down. As you know, I'm very good with hecklers. But I wasn't going to put the guy down. I mean, this audience, I didn't want this audience to think I was evil. They already thought I was shite. So I didn't want them to think I was evil and shite. So I was fucking dying. I was saying to the guy, would you like to sit down? I mean, there's plenty of seats. I mean, there fucking was, right? But he wouldn't sit down, and I left him. And it was to my detriment that I left him. I just left him to stand there. Because he proceeded to interrupt and heckle. But not only did he interrupt and heckle, he did it fucking brilliantly with perfect timing. Right? His timing was fucking spectacular. So I would be doing a routine, I would do a setup, and I was just about to drop the punchline, and we go, meow, Mercedes-Benz, something mental, right? Right, honestly, right? And you go, cola cubes, fuck. I was like, fuck. Right, push flaps, right, honestly. And I was dying, right? I was sweating like a pan of Semtex. I mean, I must have lost about fucking 2 stone. Now, nobody's laughing except the guy for the Scotsman. He's pissing himself. In the middle of the review, it went, this gig was so bad, it was brilliant. Right? So he's knocking fuck out me. They used to have in the Scotsman the page of shame, right? It appeared on the page of shame, it was called. And all the 1-star reviews went on the page of shame. My review of my show went on the page of shame. I mean, you get 1 review for 1 star for turning up. If they dug up the body of Richard Pryor and put him on a stage in Edinburgh, he would get 1 star, right? I got 1 star, page of shame. But you know what? Just get through the gig. If you're going through hell, keep going. I just every time I done a punchline, yeah, microwaves, right? Fucking nightmare, right? I was fucking dying in my arse. And it felt like a week in the jail as well. It was the longest night of my life. Only took 55 minutes, but it felt like a week in the jail, right? And at the end of the gig, I said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming along. I really appreciate your patronage or whatever. I've been Raymond Mearns. Good night. And as I went to leave the stage with what dignity I fucking had remaining, the guy who'd been heckling me constantly, the wee guy with Tourette's, and this was printed in the paper in the last line, he turned to the audience and he went, do you know what? I remember when there's a pool table in here. Fucking nightmare. Nightmare.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna go and get ready for the Fringe show.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching and this is really annoying you, don't fucking come to the show. You'll hate it.
To find out more about Glesga, click on the bio link to any of our socials. On YouTube, click the bell button and it will notify you when we upload a new video. Please give us 5 stars on your podcast provider. And remember, if you enjoyed us, come and see us at the Edinburgh Fringe, or if you're in Glasgow, we're doing a show on the 1st of September. We've had Jordan Young, Greg Hempel and the fantastic Frank McAvenny. Who's the next guest? Well, you need to buy a ticket because we don't announce the guest until the actual show. So, if you enjoyed us, remember, tell your friends, but if you didn't,
fuck off.